Blog Talk Radio. You're tuned in to in5d Radio, the next dimensional radio where we bring you the hottest, in-depth spiritual, metaphysical, esoteric conversations and news with your hosts Gregg Prescott and Heidi Cole. Get ready for spirit, body, and mind to expand in 3, 2, 1.
Namaste, everyone, and welcome to in5d Radio, coming to you from Sarasota, Florida, every Monday night at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific, and 12 a.m. midnight in the UK. I'm your host, Gregg Prescott from in5d.com. And for the next 2 hours, we're going to be raising the vibration of the planet, galaxy, and universe. Tonight, our special guest will be you, as we will have open lines all night, so feel free to call in and tell us about your spiritual journey. Have you been going through the dark night of the soul? Have you noticed a positive change in frequencies lately? Have you noticed the difference on the pace of manifestations? Do they seem to be happening quicker for you? And if so, tell us about it. My co-host, Heidi Cole, will not be joining us tonight due to some technical difficulties with her computer. So tonight it's just you and me with open lines, so feel free to call in anytime at 646-716-8890. Now, the only news I have tonight, I'll tell you, just when you think it can't get any crazier, it does. The Illinois Agricultural Department illegally seized privately owned bees from beekeeper Terrence Ingram without providing him with a search warrant and before his scheduled court appearance. So you're probably wondering, why were these bees seized? As it turns out, Ingram was researching a Monsanto product, Roundup, and its effect on bees, which he's raised for 58 years. 2 inspectors claimed that there was a disease emanating from several colonies located behind Ingram's house, to which Ingram says are false allegations. As of this date, the bees have not been returned to Ingram, and the Ag Department doesn't know where they are. So I think it was Einstein who said that once the bee population dies off, humans will follow 4 years later. Now, between the chemtrails, GMOs, fluoridated water, aspartame, processed food, and so on, it's clear to those who aren't watching Dancing with the Stars that there's a eugenics program designed to eliminate the population. But as I mentioned last week, we can all fight this by uploading 2 free apps on your smartphone. And they're called, the first one is Boycott, and the second one is Foodukate. Well, tonight we have open lines where you can call us anytime and talk about your spiritual journey or anything in5d related. We're also interested in hearing about your spiritual journey. So call us anytime. We do have open lines starting right now. Our number is 646-716-8890. Okay, bear with me here, folks. Okay. So, a few weeks ago, I had some oral surgery done to remove a cyst from the roof of my mouth. I also had a bone graft done, and right before the surgeon put the bone graft in, I asked him if the DNA from the donor would affect me in any way. I don't think he really knew how to answer that question, so we just kind of let it go. But I'll tell you, since that operation, I've had some nasty dreams, and normally my dreams are either futuristic or mundane. So I asked my spirit guides and guardian angels to help me out with removing whatever energy was attached to this bone graft. I also tried speaking directly to the energy and told him that his negative energy was not welcome in my presence. Then I told him to look up, follow the light, and go home. I also tried smudging my apartment with some sage, and lately everything seems to be better, much better. But there definitely was some kind of attachment going on for a couple of weeks. Now, I've heard stories too about, say for example, you go to a flea market or a yard sale, or an antique shop and you buy like an old piece of furniture or jewelry or anything else, what you want to do is clear that energy from whatever possession that you bought, because there still might be some kind of energy attachment associated with these items. So that's something that you might want to think about. You know, and maybe it's the change of energies that's going on right now, too. It seems like there are some very positive waves of energy happening right now, and perhaps they're attributed to some of the recent solar flares, but they might also be connected to changing energies as we move out of the age of Pisces and into the age of Aquarius. So if you're picking up on these energies, feel free to call in and tell us about them. Our call-in number is 646-716-8890. We do have open lines right now. So actually, in the meanwhile, what I'd like to do is I'd like to pick up where we left off. A few weeks ago, we were covering some of the 51 spiritual awakening symptoms, and I think we made it all the way up to like 19. And we've actually been doing this for several weeks, and we haven't gotten anywhere close to this. So what I'll do is I'll just give a quick recap, and we'll pick it up from there. And like I said, feel free to call in at any time. We have open lines all night tonight. So anyway, number one, the first one was change in sleep patterns. I know a lot of us have been experiencing some really strange ones, myself definitely included, where it seems like I'm napping more. My nap is more like my sleep, and my sleep is more like a nap, where I'm taking long naps in the daytime and then a short sleep at night. Activity at the crown of the head is number two, where you feel that crown chakra tingling, and you just feel like, you know, everything's alive. You can feel that energy going on. Number three is a sudden wave of emotion. Number four is old stuff seems to be coming up. And the people with whom you need to work it out with appear in your life. Number five is change in weight. Number six is change in eating habits. Number seven, food intolerances, allergies. Number eight is amplification of the senses, sight, hearing, and enhanced sense of smell, touch, or taste. Number nine is skin eruptions. Number 10, episodes of intense energy which make you want to leap out of bed and into action. Number 11, changes in prayer or meditation. Number 12, power surges. Number 13, a range of physical manifestations. And I was just talking about that, where it seems like, you know, people are manifesting now quicker than ever. So be careful where you're putting your thoughts right now, because they are going to be happening, positive and or negative. So you really want to keep that positive vibe going. Number 14, looking younger. Wow. You know, I got to talk about this one too. A few months ago, it was last year actually, it was Andrew Weber contacted me about putting up an article about his research on distilled water. So I checked it out and read it, and I put it up there. And what Andrew says is distilled water is the fountain of youth. So I figured, what the heck, I'll give it a shot. Now, you know, if you do research distilled water on the internet, you're going to find these people that will say it's not good for you and this and that. But Andrew's done a lot of research on it, and he has a lot of physicians that are backing his work. So I gave it a shot, and I'll tell you, you know, the looking younger thing, ever since I started drinking distilled water, my hair went from predominantly gray to back to its original hair color. And, you know, at my age, I turned 53 this year, and I don't care if my hair turns gray. I don't care if I get wrinkles. You know, that's ego talking when, you know, I'd say, well, I got to dye my hair to look younger. I don't care about that. But it is kind of cool that I'm doing this in a natural way, and honestly, I'm not sure either if it's solely the distilled water, but I've also changed my eating habits. I'm eating predominantly organic food, essentially eliminated most processed food. Occasionally, I do have some. You know, I've been doing a lot of juicing also, so. It could be a combination of everything, but, you know, if you're going through that too, you know, if you find that you've been looking younger or feeling younger, give us a call. Number 15 is vivid dreams. Wow, that hit the nail on the head recently for me. What about you? Are you having vivid dreams out there? Are they good? Are they positive? Are they futuristic? Number 16, events that completely alter your life. And this could be tied to perhaps the dark night of the soul. And Heidi and I covered that a few weeks ago. We did a show on the dark night of the soul. And matter of fact, I was listening to Helene Lipson's show the other night, and I was in the chat room, and there was a girl, Allie, that was on there who was going through who currently is going through the dark night of the soul. And so, a lot of people are experiencing that. And to those people, as bad as it seems, I say congratulations, because everything from this point forward is just going to keep getting better and better. And you've hit the bottom. And now what you're going through is this spiritual cleansing right now. So congratulations. And, bright, happy days are ahead. And while it does seem like it's really bad and everything's miserable, trust me, it's going to get so much better quicker than you think, especially now that manifestations are happening quicker than ever. Okay, number 16, events that completely alter your life. Okay, that we just said that. That was the dark night of the soul. Number 17, a desire to break free from restrictive patterns, life-draining jobs, consumptive lifestyles, and toxic people or situations. Now, I have an article that I know a lot of you have seen on in5d, and it's called "So Your Spiritual Awakening Has Cost You Some Friends." I wrote that article after I had to unfriend a guy who I had been best friends with since we were both 6 years old. And he was the best man when I got married, and we've been through a lot. But what he was doing was he'd come onto my Facebook page and start belittling my friends who were awakened, because he hasn't awakened himself. He's still trapped inside the box, and he doesn't see anything that's really happening on face value. He's one of those people that will be watching Dancing with the Stars while drinking a Diet Coke. So you know what I'm talking about there. So I ended up having to unfriend him, and I wish him all the love and best wishes in the world. He's a great guy. He's real funny, but he and I kind of drifted apart. So you're going to find that kind of thing happening right now. Toxic people. Also, I noticed that a lot of people are going through, as they mentioned on number 17 here, life-draining jobs or consumptive lifestyles. Now, the life-draining jobs, a lot of people are realizing, even like lawyers who are working essentially for the cabal, or, people that are just working for these major corporations who are sucking them dry, they're realizing that, you know what, there's more to life than this. I did not incarnate here to be part of this crap. So, they're changing things around, and they're starting a whole new lifestyle. And I say to them, good for you. You might want to, if that's something that you're thinking about doing right now too, you might want to check out the article on in5d. It's called "How to Find Your Life Purpose." So it's a great article, and it really teaches you how to look within to find exactly why you are here. And one of the things I do like asking people, being the introvert that I am, but one of the things I do like asking people when I do talk to people is, if there was no such thing as money, what would you be doing with your life? Would the fry cook at McDonald's still be making French fries? I seriously doubt it. Now, for myself, if there was no such thing as money, I would be, number one, I'd be like a spiritual counselor, helping people to find what it is that they're here to do. And number two, what I would do is I'd have like a huge orchard with fruit in it, and I'd just put a sign outside saying, help yourself, take what you need. If you know someone that's hungry, take a little for them too. Something along that line. So if you're really trying to figure out what it is that you're supposed to be doing in your life, ask yourself, if there was no such thing as money, what would you be doing with your life? So, and that'd be another great question to ask our callers. We do have the open lines, so feel free to call in anytime. But, if there was no such thing as money, what would you be doing? So call in. Tell us about it. As I mentioned, our call-in number is 646-716-8890. Moving on, number 18, emotional and mental confusion. And that says, it says a feeling that you need to get your life straightened out. It feels like a mess, but at the same time, you feel chaotic and unable to focus. So this almost seems like it's almost like the precursor to the dark night of the soul, where everything does get all chaotic, and then finally you hit that bottom. But from that point forward, you go through that spiritual cleansing. So it really is a blessing. Number 19, introspection, solitude, and loss of interest in more extroverted activities. Well, I know that most of our listeners, probably a good 70 to 80% of us, are extroverts, so we can probably relate to the introspection and solitude part, but the loss of interest in extroverted activities, not so much, because we weren't doing them anyway. I was talking to a friend, oh gosh, I think it was last week, and she said she's going to this party, and I know she's an introvert too, and I was telling her, man, I couldn't imagine having to go to something that I really didn't feel like I wanted to go to, and I don't know about you guys, but if there was a party going on and I ultimately had to go, I would be on the outside of the room looking in, just watching people and observing. And, that's typically what we introverts do. Yeah, for example, when I go to the beach each morning, I go for a morning walk and I do a little beach meditation. But I go by myself. I don't need the distractions when I'm meditating. And when I go for the walk, I'm just clearing my mind. And what I'm doing is this walk of gratitude. I think I've mentioned it before on in5d radio, where I walk to the end of the beach and there's a seawall there, so it gives me a chance to stop and reflect. And what I do is I give thanks to the Creator, the universe, my spirit guides and guardian angels, our friends and family on both sides of the veil, our galactic neighbors and friends, and to Mother Earth. And for each one, I go through and I express what I'm grateful for. And when I get to the spirit guides and guardian angels, I tell them that I'll continue to listen with an open mind, eyes, ears, and heart, and will continue to listen to their guidance and direction. So, if you want to incorporate that into your walk or meditation or just daily activity, feel free to do so, because, one thing, too, about your spirit guides, that they're following you every second of the day. They're watching you sleep at night. They're waiting for you to say, hey, I need some help here. And the perfect time would be during your dark night of the soul. Ask them for that guidance and for that direction. That's what they're there for. Number 20, creativity bursts. And it goes on to say, receiving images, ideas, music, and other creative inspirations at an often overwhelming rate. Now, I don't know if anyone else can relate to this, but boy, I'll tell you, when I think it was 2008 when I had first watched The Secret, I asked, one of the things they recommend is for you to ask your spirit guides and guardian angels to ask the universe for ideas and direction, and I did. And from that point forward, I was literally flooded with ideas, and the only way I can describe it is as a galactic download of information. And one of the ideas was to build in5d, and even the name in5d came from me asking the universe for ideas and direction. So, I was flooded with that kind of creativity. Matter of fact, I knew nothing about building websites. I had to teach myself HTML just to build the website that you see right now. So, and I can tell you this too. Since 2008, I think I've learned way much more in the past 5 years than I have in the rest of my life combined. It just seems like the learning curve has grown exponentially. So, I don't know if anybody else has gone through that, but if so, feel free to call in at any given time and talk about it. And once again, I'll give you our number. It's 646-716-8890. The lines are open. Feel free to call in. Okay, and we're going to be moving on here. And first of all, I just want to say hi to everybody in the chat room. I see you all in there. I see my regulars in there with their names out there. That's great. Hi to everybody. I'm waving to you. And we're going to move on here. And to anybody listening, feel free to call in. It's open lines night tonight, so whatever is on your mind, in 5D related, we've got a cajillion topics on there. Feel free to call in about anything. Okay, this next one is really cool. Number 21, a perception that time is accelerating. Now, I've talked to a lot of people about this, and everybody's feeling that time is speeding up. You know, and there's several thoughts out there on this. Now, I believe Danny and Brinkley said that time isn't necessarily speeding up, but our consciousness is speeding up. And I believe Ian Lungold's theory on this was that more is happening now in less time. So there's an acceleration of time in that construct. So, but I know a lot of people are talking about that. It's like, man, you know, it seemed like yesterday that it was Christmas, and here we are. It's almost June, and you know, and time is flying by. You know, and for anyone that has kids, you know, I've got a daughter. She turns 19 this year, and it seems like yesterday that she was so small I had to carry her up the steps. And it's just going by so quickly. Now, what a lot of people will say is, well, that's just because you're getting older, which may be true, but even the younger kids are saying this now. I've talked to my daughter. She said the same thing. I've talked to some of the younger kids on Facebook and on the chat room, on our live chat at the bottom of every page on in5d, and they're saying the same thing. So it's not just an age thing. Everyone, a lot of people are feeling like time's speeding up. So if you're feeling that and you want to talk about it, feel free to call us. Number 22 is a sense of impendingness, that there's a feeling that something is about to happen. Now, how many of you have felt this one? I know I sure as heck have. You know, whether that's you know, us exiting out of the age of Pisces and into Aquarius, whether that's the Pluto and Capricorn, where you're feeling, you know, that Pluto is destroying everything that's bad in order for us to rebuild it with something that's good. There's a lot going on right now. And we feel that we are on the edge of something huge, something big, and something very positive. Despite what the mainstream media is putting out there, you know, they're going to tell us that, you know, oh, fear this and fear that. But the statistics will tell you that we're actually living in safer times now than we were 5 years ago. Violent crimes have significantly decreased in the last 5 years, yet we have to look out for the terrorists, all these terrorists that are out there, which are non-existent, that are made up by the media, the whole Al-Qaeda thing that was made up by the CIA, and now we're ending up funding them, apparently, which is the latest thing in the news. And I've been trying to keep away from that myself because it's just like so much fear-laden stuff that, you know, it's great for the people that are truth-seeking, but, you know, you get to a point where you had enough of that fear-mongering, right? I don't know about you, but I did. So, excuse me a second. I'm back. Yeah, sorry about that. You know, I'm used to having a co-host, so I'm doing this all on my own. And, you know, I've been talking for almost 25 minutes without a drink of anything, so... So bear with me. I'm going to be taking occasional breaks for drinks here. So, of course, I'm drinking distilled water. What I've been doing, too, check this out. I bought an ozone machine, and what it is, it has a diffuser, this stone that blows bubbles out. And what I do is I take my gallons of distilled water, and yeah, I open that up and I put the diffuser into the bottom, and I pump in about 20 minutes worth of ozone into the water. So not only am I getting the benefits of the distilled water, which leaches out the impurities from your body, you're also getting the benefits of the ozone in the water, the extra oxygen. So I've been doing this as an experiment for, I don't know, maybe about 4 or 5 months, and it's great. So, you know, I honestly don't know how or why or what is the science behind it. I just it's my own discernment that tells me this is something that I need to do. Do your own research. If you feel that's like something you might want to try, well, research it first. I'm not recommending it to anyone, but all I can say is it's definitely working for me. It gives me a lot of energy, and it really, I don't know if that has something to do with the youthful appearance too that we were just talking about, but it's all adding up one way or another. So, okay, let's move on. Number 22 is a sense of impendingness. We just talked about that. Number 23 is impatience. Anyone out there impatient about anything? Well, I as for myself, when is 5D Earth going to come, right? Hey, I see that there is a caller on up here, and we have area code 508. You're live on in5d radio. What's your name, 508?
This is Jennifer.
Hi, Jennifer. Welcome to in5d radio.
Hi. I didn't even know, I didn't press 1. It said press 1 if you want. I was going to listen for a few minutes because I wasn't able to get through to you. So finally I just got through, and okay. I'm the one that called last week.
I'm wonderful. Yeah, that's right.
Yes. Sorry,
so,
I'm still getting used to you guys with the radio show, so I know that I have to stop and be quiet so that you can take your turn. So bear with me. I'm trying to learn.
Oh, you're doing great. You're doing great. So how's your awakening going?
Oh, it's really great. And I'm a person that really doesn't have a lot, although some people would think, wow, you do have a lot, because my boyfriend likes to collect antique cars and store them. And I keep telling him, you got to get rid of them.
Right.
What? Yeah, and I'm like, no, just get rid of them now. And I said, and let's buy a distiller, and we'll buy this and we'll buy that. And that's what I want him to do. I want him to sell his cars so we can buy things to kind of become self-sustainable. Because I have no idea which way this is going, but I know that things are happening, and I don't think we can be too sure about when the big thing will happen. I just don't know.
What do you think about the changes? What do you think about the changes in energies that are going on lately?
Yeah, I feel it, I really do. And I'm wondering, about some other people, because, some of them are just kind of I don't know, a little dumbfounded about when you mention things. And then there's other people that they are starting to, kind of see that, there's corruption. You can say, oh, yeah, anything about maybe the president or about, some things that are going on. And, but the people, I can talk about the corruption, and I can even go so far as, talking about the stuff in the Vatican and everything, and I feel like a lot of people kind of need to hear that first, almost. They kind of need to say, hey, wait a minute, if that's going on, and that's what I think that, because I want to get more onto the healing stuff and everybody being all healed and everybody being happy and these kinds of things. And I'm not seeing as much of that as I'd like to. So,
right.
Yeah, so I think they kind of got to know about that corruption, because that's what happened to me. I have a really interesting story. Maybe I'll start a little bit with my mom. My mom was a psychic and an astrologer, and really, really cool lady. She was a Gemini, and I just lost her about 1.5 years ago. And she used to be on a radio station, WBZ in Boston, which is really actually a pretty, I would call it a famous radio station. It's been around a long time, and there's been a lot of people that have come through, and so it's a very well-known station here. And she used to be the Midnight Psychic, and this is when I was a little girl. Now I'm 40. I'll be 46 this year. I was born July 13th during the Summer of Love, 1967. That's when I came onto this planet while all that free love and all that stuff was going on.
Beautiful.
So, yeah, I don't know if it did something. But I do think that, I'm one of those people that I just love everybody. And, and it kind of has gotten me into some trouble in life, and I'm better at it now, being more careful, but I still do. and now I probably love people even more because I'm like, you know what? I don't care if that person's a jerk. It's like, I love you anyway. But Mom was really cool, and I was a little girl. She used to bring me to, like, I was kind of like her, right on her apron string, I guess, and she used to bring me to all of her psychic meetings, and she'd bring me to her astrology meetings, and I got to meet these, extraordinary people, I would say, and I didn't know at the time that it was as extraordinary as it is now. And obviously they had special energies that I'm sure were good for me and mine for them, probably when we probably didn't even know it. And I don't know if you ever heard of Newton Dillaway, but
no, I haven't.
He is, I guess, I never had either. And until my stepdad started pulling out some stuff of my mom's and giving it to me. And I found some really cool, extraordinary stuff in here from this man, Newton Dillaway, who had all of this information about, like, the healing and the sacred geometry and the energies and the frequencies. And I guess this was, like, a lot of it back from, like, the 30s and 60s and then the 70s when he was dealing with my mom. And I don't know how the whole story goes, but my mom went to his house. I guess he lived way out in the woods or whatever, and he was an older man at the time. And and she went there, and I don't know who brought her there, and I don't know why she ended up there. But when she arrived, he went, "Oh, there you are. I've been waiting for you." And she goes,
wow.
"What do you mean?" Yeah, and he said, "Well, I knew you were coming." And so I got all this really cool stuff from my stepdad with these notes and letters written from Newton Dillaway and all kinds of information about him, and these books he wrote, and certain things that came out of, I was kind of looking around my stuff right now to see where I put it, stuff that came out of, that they won't publish anymore, even though people are wanting the books, they wouldn't publish them. So I think I just found the envelope. And, there's really neat articles in here, too. And there's one thing, I want to find it, which was really neat. There's this lady, around 1900, there was a lady, like, from the 1800s in one of these articles. This says, this article is called Music as Cure for Physical Ills Seen Likely by Local Man. And then it talks about Mr. Dillaway. He was from Wakefield, Massachusetts, a teacher, lecturer, and philosopher, author of several books, Prophet of America, published by Little Brown, and something about a Harvard professor here, that was his editor. There's some really neat things in here. There was a statement that a lady made that was from the 1800s that I thought was extraordinary. And I know you guys know about, like, all the harmonics. And there you were just talking about.
Was that like the Mother Shipton prophecies kind of thing, or?
No, this is more like the science, the holy science that we're dealing with now on the planet, that, like, people are really learning to understand. About healing, about how it's frequency, about how it's, vibration, and all of that. Let's see. And even he had, like, all these psychiatrists involved in this and everything, and they believed that he was going to heal the world. And people were really into this guy. And I'm trying to find, it does say something about something. 1900.
And nowadays they call those same people kooks. The people. It's ridiculed. Where, it's the exact opposite. The traditional science is not the way to go. The traditional medicine, if anything, holistic should be the first means of any kind of medical practice, and then you go into pharmaceutical and traditional medicine. But You know, it's all about big pharma and supporting the medical industry and everything. It's all about the big buck.
Yeah, and Greg, and you know, it is about the big buck. And you know what? I barely believe in pharmaceuticals at all.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm with you.
I have used homeopathics for like 15 or so years. I used them on my dogs. I used my homeopathics on a dog that no vet could cure, you know, and so I really learned a lot with my sick dog. It's funny how certain things happen, and then I ended up, you know, using it on family and changing all of that. But to go back to my mom, she was really cool. I was also psychic as a child, and you know, the good old story that goes, you lost your psychic ability.
Yeah.
You know, because and so I would say that is kind of what happened to me. But then again, I was always very intuitive, and I was aware that I was intuitive because I was aware that others weren't as intuitive. You know, you kind of get the gist of it after a while. I never had anything go on with, like, any ETs or anything like that, but I did see some when I was younger, and I just never had, like, an encounter that I recall. I actually did one of Drum Below's workshops last year, and I activated my macabre as well, which is really, really extraordinary. I had really wild visions after that all happened.
Let me ask you this. Which way does Drum Below say that the macabre spins?
Well,
Is it clockwise or counterclockwise?
Well, here's the thing, and someone was talking about this just recently, but I didn't find that they were telling us to spin it anyway. It wasn't even Drunvalo that taught this workshop. It was a lady that came from Flagstaff, Arizona. She was she was such a glorious person. Her and her husband came, and I mean, if you want to meet two of the most wonderful people in your life, I mean, they were just fabulous people, kind right down to the core of them. Her husband owns a little musical shop in Flagstaff and all kinds of instruments. And so they had all of, you know, the little Chinese bells and stuff. So he kind of did his thing, too, as well as her teaching the classes. And she came back again and then taught, actually, when I called last week, I was actually talking about the ley lines and everything. And she taught us how to clear the land, how to, you know, resolve the problems with the ley lines and the Hartman lines, and all these things that cause negative energy on people's properties and in their homes. And I had both my home and my fiance's home done by her before I even took the course, and the houses changed, the property changed. I mean, you could tell. And I said, wow, I really want to take that course. And I'm a introvert, so even though I'm not extroverted too, I guess I'm both, because, like, I can go out in a crowd of people and I can just, like, mingle with everybody. And I can have people like to come around and listen to my stories, I guess, too, and they like to tell me all of their problems, and I don't ask. Like, yeah, people even in grocery stores will, like, start talking to me and then, like, just keep talking to me, and it's really kind of weird, but it's nice, and I'm always very nice to everybody anyway, but sometimes I'm busy and it's like, I gotta go. I also have ADHD, by the way, if you want to call it that. I'm very disorganized, and as you can see, I'm a little bit all over the place sometimes too.
That's okay. You know, you were mentioning that you had these psychic abilities as a child, and it reminded me of a friend of mine, Miriam, who, when she was a child, this is a great story. When she was a child, she used to have out-of-body experiences, and she would float over to her neighbor's house and the following day she would tell her neighbors, you know, this is what you were doing, this is what you were talking about, and they'd ask her, and they said, how did you know? She said, well, you know, I just floated over, and she didn't really know how to really explain it and stuff like that, I guess, at the time. But, you know, and she ended up telling her friends about it. Her friends in turn ridiculed her because they didn't have these abilities, nor could they understand them. And she ended up suppressing this gift that was given to her. But, lately she's been bringing it back. So good for her. And hopefully you're bringing yours back, too.
Yes, I definitely noticed that mine's coming back. And I also noticed manifestations.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll also tell you that a couple of other things that have happened to me. When I called in, were you talking about ascension symptoms?
Yes.
Oh, okay, because I only caught, like, part of it. I was trying to get through to you. I've been having some strange things happen to me, like say I walk out my front door and I'm standing on the cement there, and then it seems as though, you know the movie Avatar where the land was floating?
Yeah.
And it was like clumps of land and they just like floated there. Well, it feels like that sometimes. Like that's happened to me a few different times. And like it's like there's no ground underneath me. And it's like, whoa, this is like really weird.
So it's almost like a transition between two worlds.
Yeah. So I'm like, okay, it's definitely going to be weird, but like, but it's all right, and it's cool. And another thing too, I don't know, I was reading something because I've been having all these other weird symptoms, and I think it was a lady that called on your show a couple of weeks ago. Maybe her name was Lori or something, but she called and said something about becoming from going from indigo to crystalline, and it intrigued me. Yeah, it intrigued me, and I was like, you know what, I want to check that out because I've always thought that I was like an indigo because of, just certain, right, I actually fit all the symptoms of it, so I went and I looked and I went, wow, isn't that strange? It's almost like things come to you right when they're supposed to, and in the last 3 weeks, my hips have been killing me, and I'm only 46 and no reason. And just even sleeping on them at night and everything, I have to lay on my back because they're aching so badly. And I'm like, this is weird, And wasn't it one of the symptoms from becoming indigo to crystalline, and amongst some other things that have been happening to me too. So I was like, wow, this is weird,
Well, you were born during the summer of love, and it's funny too because I was talking to my daughter in 2008 about this alignment that was going to happen in 2011, and the last time this alignment happened was during the summer of love, and in 2008 tie-dye hadn't made a comeback yet, and I told my daughter, I said, check it out, I guarantee, in the next few years we're going to start seeing this massive influx of tie-dye, and right on schedule. There it was, tie-dye all over the place by the time 2011.
It's so funny, Greg, because it happened to me. I wasn't following astrology, so I wasn't aware of that. But that's what happened to me. My boyfriend, I said, listen, I want to start selling tie-dyes on your lawn. And I said, I'm telling you, tie-dyes and peace signs are coming back. And he was like, what? And I'm like, I'm telling you, they're coming back. So I started selling them on his lawn, and I made a killing. I did really well. Yeah, I did it all summer long, and I started selling flamingos, too. And I sold so many. I live up in New England, and I sold like 350 flamingos that summer. Can you imagine?
We have talked to a bunch of people here. Like, for example, myself, I was born in 1960, and, I don't really remember the 60s too much. But the thing I do remember is that energy that was going on then. I remember that feeling of the whole peace and love movement that was going on. I was still too young to really understand it, but I definitely felt it, and wow, it was something.
Yeah,
so I mean, you were young. You were really young, but I guarantee there's something that's in your cellular DNA that remembers that feeling. And when it came back again, you were like, wow, this feels so familiar.
Oh, yes. I mean, I can definitely tell you that I always thought, I would say, through my life, which I realize now that I'm wrong, but I would always say, oh, I should have been born earlier because I feel like I'm a hippie. I feel like I'm one of them. And, and then I realized when I was older, wow, I was born during the summer of love. And then I also realized later, no, I was born right when I was supposed to be.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah.
You knew exactly when when you came in here. You knew exactly what was going on, and when you picked and chose the exact date and time of your incarnation. So,
yeah, I certainly believe it, and I done well.
Yep.
Yeah,
well, listen,
absolutely.
Jennifer, we have another caller that's been on hold here. So, thank you for calling in, and feel free to call in anytime. And it was great talking to you.
I will. It was great
Alrighty.
talking to you, too. I really enjoy your show. Thank you.
Thank you. Take care now.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye. Okay, our next caller is 760. You are on the air with in5d. What's your name? 760, area code?
Sherry.
Hi. Hi, Sherry. Do I know you?
Just slightly.
Sherry the introvert has called.
You know what? Sometimes you have to do stuff that's difficult. It helps make you stronger.
Actually, you are an extrovert. You're an ENFP, correct?
Except that I only made it by 1 point.
So how are you feeling with all these energies that are going on?
Oh, exhausted.
And what about your sleep patterns? How are they doing?
Well, ever since I started homeschooling my son, of course, I don't have to wake up at 6:45 anymore. So that was always a bonus. So finally, I've been able to, like in the first time of my life, get more than 6 hours of sleep.
Yay!
I know. I need my beauty sleep. Trust me.
So your little indigo has been keeping you up, huh?
You know, he has his he definitely is an interesting little child, and homeschooling is difficult, but you know, for these kids, you know, he was diagnosed with ADHD and some tics, you know, but a lot of it, what it comes down to is that, you know, he has a level of interest, and you know, and he's very excited by different things, and kind of in school it's kind of one note. And, you know, for kids who just don't fit in, they just instantly just want to say, okay, well, we're going to make you fit in by giving you a pill, and it's just not such a great fit, you know?
I know. Now, how do you keep them? How do you keep them on task?
I actually have to have a timer, which has worked the best, that I do 10 minutes at a shot, and that way he just knows he has to focus for 10 minutes, and it definitely works a lot better. You know, and we do a lot of visual things. So, you know, rather than him having his nose stuck in a book, you know, we'll go outside and, you know, do science experiments outside, or, you know, to learn about marine biology or oceanography, you know, if I can afford it. You know, we'll go to SeaWorld, or we'll go to the ocean, you know, and just, you know, children in public school, they just don't have the luxury of doing that. But, you know, you get who you get as a kid, and you just have to make the best of it.
Well, you know, you can also, I think I love the idea of homeschooling, and imagine being able to learn about like the Fibonacci sequence or sacred geometry just by looking at plants as a child. I mean, imagine how much more further advanced we would be spiritually if we actually learned about that instead of the crap we learned in school.
Well, you know, definitely there is some crap. But, you know, you've talked to my weird kid, you know, all of a sudden he starts going on, and he sounds just like his mom with the chemtrails and the Pope and everything else. He's like a little mini me over here yelling speech. Well, you know, I try not to go into that too much with him, but he's definitely a very open-minded child. Be quiet. Sorry.
And I hear him in the background.
He is. That's what happens when you homeschool your kids with you all the time. But you know what, you were asking today if, you know, what would people do if there wasn't money? And, you know, oddly enough, since you and I are kind of like twins, that's what I would do, is have an orchard. I think that's fabulous.
I love that idea, you know, just feeding people and, you know, letting people, you know, enjoy literally the fruits of your product. So yeah, I think that'd be a great thing to do. Another thing I would do is I'd teach them, okay, these are not Monsanto seeds, so go out and plant your own stuff too. Teach them how to be sustainable.
Well, what's so interesting is that I saw a meme or meme. I don't even know how it's pronounced, but it's that thing.
Right.
A meme, okay? And it was about Monsanto, basically saying that these huge events of people in 52 countries, millions of people were marching, and yet there was no mention of it really anywhere in the news.
Yeah.
Hello?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. I accidentally hit mute. George Fallon
was
talking about... Go ahead.
My kid is just freaked out to tell me that his points on Halo were 11111.
Of course they were.
Of course they were.
Uh-huh.
So I guess that's okay. If they interrupt you to tell you about the 1111 points, I guess that's a very good sign.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Like what I was talking about at the beginning of the show and what I mentioned in last week's show was that app called Boycott. And I think that's, if the government and the FDA isn't going to stand up for our best interests, we're going to take things in our own hands and we'll just boycott all these companies that are producing crap. Screw them.
I think that's really what you have to do. You can't just wait and hope for everybody else to do the work. I completely understand that, everyone is here and they have their own mission. And I don't pretend to judge what their mission is or to understand what it is. And I don't want to say, well, you should be marching, you should be picketing. Like, who knows? In their sleep, they could be astrally fighting in a war. They could be doing healing work that nobody knows about. Like, I really try to refrain from judging, people what they should or shouldn't be doing, because there definitely are the type of people here that are going to be doing, doing boycotting and picketing and, and doing lawsuits. There's someone for everything here.
I was listening
I'm not definitely a picketing person.
No. I was listening to Bill Ballard's latest video that he put out today, and there's a lot of truth in what people are saying about when you put that energy out there. I don't want Monsanto. I don't want GMOs. That's not the intention that you really need to put out. The intention has to be behind it is, I want organic food, but when you're putting that energy in, I don't want Monsanto, you're saying, I don't want Monsanto, I don't want Monsanto. Well, it's still going to keep coming. You got to turn it around and make it into something positive. So, I totally dig everybody that's creating this awareness because a lot of people are talking about it, and I think that's great. And, what we're doing, like what I'm doing on in5d, giving these people these apps and telling them to take the issue into their own hands. That's what we got to do now. It's time to, those in power are not going to create the paradigm for us. That's for sure. They want us to stay in this third-dimensional, fear-laden reality, and we're sick of it. We don't want it anymore, and that's not going to happen anymore. So, it's about envisioning that positive world that can be created.
Oh, totally. Very well said, Mr. Prescott, must say. But I totally agree. And my daughter's almost 21 years old, and she and most of her friends, they're so awake, and more of their friends are awake. And I'll bring up a topic that used to be maybe conspiratorial in nature, and she would just roll her eyes at me. But now she and her friends, they already know about it, and I'm so shocked. I was like, how do you know that? And they're like, well, it's from Tumblr, or it's from, Twitter or something else that, that the consciousness is really going up in this younger generation than I've ever seen before, because I personally really didn't, even though I was very, very psychic, as a young child, I didn't awaken to all this that was happening until I was, maybe, 43.
Mm-hmm. But it wasn't cool when it came.
Only a few years ago.
Oh, yeah. But it wasn't cool when it came from you. But when they hear it from other people, all of a sudden, oh, yeah, okay. And I went through the same thing with Brittany. When we would go on drives, I'd drive her to school or whatever. Her and I would talk about, I would talk about these things that are going on and point out things that are happening. And she would listen and she would absorb it. But, it gets more validation when they actually get it from their friends. And then all of a sudden it starts to take off. Yeah.
That's the truth. But, but it's just, I think that everybody is open to it at the proper time for them, at their own divine time. So that's when some of the thing that really gets on my nerves is when I see, people on different sites and they're like, wake up, sheeple, you idiots. And I'm kind of like, you just don't understand that what you're saying is not a part of anything that they could ever imagine as being true. They're not stupid. It's just so beyond their own reality. If you say to somebody, I did not notice chemtrails until I was 40-something years old, yet they'd been in the sky all this time. So, and I wasn't stupid. Certainly wasn't stupid, but I just never noticed them. So everybody just is open to this in their own divine time that you really can't, you can be nice about something and gentle about it. It's just kind of nice to gently help others to wake up or just to be a good example for other people. But to, call people sheeple and stuff, I'm just not a fan of that.
Right. And, some people aren't going to wake up in this incarnation anyway. They came here to be part of this, knowing that, they still have a few more incarnations to go, but they just want to experience it. So let them experience it and don't try to change them because, when it's their time, they're going to change. And speaking of the chemtrails too, I go to the beach every morning. I do my little walk and meditation and stuff. And there's a small group of people that, I end up hanging out with these, in particular, these two guys, Kenny and Dan. And I've been talking to them about chemtrails, and finally they're going, oh, look, there's a chemtrail, and that's a contrail. I'm like, yes, you finally get it. Yes, thank you. So it's good. And what I'm noticing, too, is that my parents, of all people, are awakening. And I know we've talked about this before, but, to the people listening, when I was talking to my parents when I first, started my official awakening, they would look at me like I had 3 heads and 5 eyes, but now they're finally coming around. And my dad will go to my mom's water aerobics, and the guys will sit around the pool while the ladies are doing their water aerobics in the morning, and the guys will talk about current issues, and my dad will talk about stuff that I'm posting on in5d news. So it's really cool to see the senior citizens awake and aware.
Yay!
Yeah, how cool is that?
I mean, that's awesome because I know that my stepmother, she's a sound healer. She does some of the Tibetan bowls, and she has some amethyst bowls, and she's very, she does meditation. In fact, they tortured us when we were young with their health food. I mean, God knows there was nothing to eat in that house that was delicious. If you got the munchies at 3 a.m.,
right.
There was like freaking eggplant. Gross,
granola.
So I felt like I was tortured, and now I've done that to my own children. Once in a while I'll get them those, I don't want to tell you what I really call Fruit Loops, but it's not called fruit, it's called an F word, something else loops. But, every once in a while I will get them, and the kids are like, oh my God, thanks, Mom, you're so awesome. Because I just hate it. I feel like it's so awful, but I don't want to be my own parents, that have, give my kid freaking eggplant and fake wheat crackers and stuff to have as a munchies. Like, I was forced to, my stepsister and I, to go push our car, sneak out of the house at 3 o'clock in the morning, push the car out of the driveway to go get something decent to eat. Because there was really and truly just all health food. And I thought, I don't like this. This is awful. This is not a way to bring up your children. But, I see their point, but as a teenager, it wasn't awesome.
Anybody that's, I guess like 25 or older, were pretty much raised when they were growing up on organic food. There wasn't a whole lot of processed food back then. And, our systems were kind of initiated into food through whole good foods. And nowadays, you got to wonder what this is doing to the children that, we had the luxury of not having to eat a lot of that crap when we were kids. What is this doing to the kids nowadays?
It's hard because, you try to do a mix, but at the same time, I'm lucky because my kids have always loved fruits and vegetables. And so it's been easier to, change out things like, have no hydrogenated oils, corn syrup. It's been kind of easy to get those out. But, they still like to eat French fries and things, and it's just kind of hard to get rid of everything. So we absolutely don't have any soda in the house whatsoever. Mm-hmm. Once in a while, I found something that's actually half decent, and it's made with stevia. And it's a soda. And it actually tastes pretty darn good, believe it or not.
Well, I buy it's Virgil's Orange Cream Soda. It's an all-natural soda. So after I got the Food UK app, I scanned it, and it got a very slightly better rating than Mountain Dew. Because all of the stuff... Oh, God. Yeah, and you would think that it would be significantly higher, but it wasn't. It was like a C+ or something like that rated on Food UK, this natural soda. And what they're saying is pretty much all sodas are crap. Now, you're talking about F-loops.
Well, of course. Well, what else would you call them?
Now, here, you know this. In Florida, we have this chain of grocery stores called Publix, and they have this really great organic section, and they actually have an organic Fruit Loop cereal that's made with natural fruit juices. So that'd be like a great alternative if you can find them.
You know what? I've seen them, and I think they're like Barbara's or Cascading or something like that. They don't taste anything like those crappy Fruit Loops. I think some things you just have to suck it up and do it, and just say, okay, that box of Fruit Loops is going to last about 2 days, and then they're not going to see it again for several months.
Well, I'll tell you, it's almost impossible to completely eliminate all GMOs or processed foods and stuff like that. Some people can do it, a very, very small percentage of the population. But, for example, if you were to go out and have pizza, I guarantee the tomato sauce that they use for the pizza is probably not organic tomatoes, and who knows what else they're putting in there, with the cheese and everything else. But there's a good chance that once in a while, everything in moderation. I'm not perfect. I know that occasionally I will eat some processed food. I do like Stouffer's, and I've been trying to watch my saturated fats. So I've been buying some like lean cuisine kind of crap, and I know that can't be the best, but it keeps my saturated fat down to a minimum. So that's a good thing.
That's good. I know. I remember that you did a video. Probably when you were super bored of what was in your freezer. And me, probably being super bored, was watching it. It's like, let's look at Gregg's freezer. Wow, this must be a real slow night. But, so I actually know what you have in your freezer now.
Not now, though. No, that's what was in the freezer like a year and a half ago, but now it's like it's changed around a lot. I'll have to do another video.
Oh, that'll be so exciting!
Yeah,
can't wait.
Personally,
yay, another freezer video.
Personally, I like the woodchuck video. Now
that was really funny.
For those that aren't aware of this, this is really cool, and I'm really big into animal symbolism. And at the time, I was living in upstate New York, and I was going to pick up my daughter in the afternoon, and I took a little nap beforehand, and I woke up and I heard this rustling in my room. Now, my room was on the second floor of this country house, and I heard this rustling, and I look around, and I see something moving in there, but I had to leave, so I just shut the door. I wasn't sure exactly what it was. I didn't know if it was a woodchuck or a porcupine or whatever. So I go and I pick up my daughter, and I come back, and we go upstairs, and of course, me with the camera, I have the camera on, and I'm recording the whole situation. Well, it turns out to be a woodchuck, a little baby woodchuck, and we ended up finding it by a process of elimination, that he was in the closet hiding. And we eventually made this little path, and he scurried down the steps, and there's a surprise ending at the end of the video that I won't tell you guys about. But just go to YouTube, type in WTF and woodchuck, and you'll find the video, okay? But anyway, the symbol of the woodchuck is fascinating. It's the woodchuck hibernates each winter, so when it comes out, the symbolism is of rebirth. So I thought the symbolism was really cool on that.
I just kind of enjoyed looking at your hoarder's room.
Well, yeah, I don't have my house is nothing like a museum, we'll put it that way. And I procrastinate.
So now that doesn't look like it either, right?
Yeah, but the thing is, I put it out there for people. Please don't put me on a pedestal. I'm human. I don't eat organic 100% of the time, though it's like 98% of the time. I smoke natural cigarettes. I do that. I smoke the American Spirit cigarettes. Funny story about that, I was talking to a friend of mine, and she was at a conference where apparently everybody there, except for one of the speakers, they were all smoking too. It was a metaphysical conference. And they were all smoking the same cigarette, American Spirit. But it's an all-natural cigarette, and I know, I'm making up an excuse. But yeah, maybe. But part of me says, maybe I came here to experience addiction. Who knows? But I'm not perfect, and I'll be the first to say that.
I just, I just think it's hard. It's so hard. Everybody knows the right thing to do because I'm always carrying an extra 20 pounds. I know how to eat. I know exactly how to exercise, to eat, to be active, to watch my calories, but I don't do it because I can try for everything in my life, but if I try to be perfect, I'm just going to be miserable. I don't want to be a perfectionist, so I say, okay, so what, So what? So I have a big butt, Big deal. I don't care.
And most people shouldn't care.
He's like, I'm not going to comment. Okay, TMI.
Yeah.
Next caller.
Yeah, you lost me on that one.
That's good. That's good. Because I didn't say anything. I said nothing. No. But anyway, Mr. Prescott, it was so nice to talk to you on your show, and I love listening to it. And it's always a pleasure talking to you. And I could just go on and on and on, except that I have to go do some errands.
Well, you'll have to listen to the rest of it on YouTube or whatever. But Sherry, thank you so much for calling. And Sherry is a wonderful psychic. She's a wonderful psychic. On the links page of in5d, there's a link to Sherry's psychic website. So you guys might want to check that out. She's awesome.
Oh, you're so sweet. You're so sweet. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it because I just, I tell you that you are really and truly one of the best friends that I have met, and it's so nice to have connected with you because I've learned so many things from you, and we've had such nice talks, and it's so, it's so valuable to me because I've never met somebody before that really can talk about every single topic like me. I kind of lose some people on certain events, and certain things, but you and I, it's just so nice. I really, really appreciate it. You're in my ADHD.
It's hard to find people really to talk to about this kind of stuff. And a lot of people, they end up coming to the in5d chat because they don't know a lot of like-minded people. But when they go on there, everybody's like-minded, so it's really cool.
It is really, really nice. And so you have a wonderful rest of your show, and it's been just a pleasure. I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Sherry. All right, take care.
Thanks, Greg. Bye. You too, thanks.
Bye. Yeah, that's Sherry. Like I said, she has an amazing ability as a psychic. And like I said, on the links page on in5d, I put up a link to her website. So, if you have any questions about yourself, even your animals, check it out. Okay. So once again, our phone lines are open, and our phone number is 646-716-8890. As you can tell, we're talking about anything and everything, including woodchucks and Fruit Loops. So feel free to call in anytime. And in the meanwhile, while the lines are open, we're going to continue with the list of spiritual awakening symptoms, and we're on number 25, a feeling that you are somehow different. Now, I'm wondering if this one, well, it goes on to say, a disquieting sense that everything in your life feels new and altered, that you have left your old self behind. You have. You are much greater than you can possibly imagine. There's more to come. Wow, that's pretty profound right there. You've left your old self behind. How many of you have felt like that, where, what the person you are today is nothing like the person you were 10, 5, 15, or whatever X amount of years ago? I know that I've changed significantly in my awakening, and I know a lot of you have too. Funny story too, people talk about when was that time that you officially awakened, and for me, it goes all the way back to Sunday school, being 3 or 4 years old, going to Sunday school and constantly questioning my Sunday school teachers about the origin of mankind, because even at such a young age, and even though we were taught to listen to our elders and, believe everything they're saying, something inside of me was saying this isn't right. And as a matter of fact, as soon as I walked into church, I kept getting this feeling immediately as soon as I walked in, there's something not right about this. And I've talked to a bunch of people who have felt the same exact way. Now, I respect anyone that's religious. This is their path that they need to follow, but, they have a hard time understanding that, the letter J wasn't invented until the 1500s, so that there's no way there could be any Jesus, Job, Jacob, Jeremiah, Judas, any other J letter that's in the Bible, because the J never existed. Even King James, the man who pretty much authored the Bible, that J is non-existent before the 1500s. And King James, as a matter of fact, was a Freemason. So, like Jordan Maxwell said, do your homework. But then, you get older, and like I was saying about my friend who had this ability to have out-of-body experiences, you end up talking to your friends, and they end up ridiculing you because they're brainwashed, and you end up, suppressing whatever it is that you were led to follow at that point in time. But then around the age of 12 or so, I saw this ad in the back of a magazine, and it was for this book on black magic, and one of the things that they were advertising was how to do astral projection, and I thought, how cool would that be? So it was during the summer, and I saved up enough money for it, and back then it might have been $4 or $5 or something like that. But I didn't want my parents to know about it, so I took the cash and I put the cash in an envelope along with the order slip, and I just kind of prayed that it would get there, and it did. 3-4 weeks later, they sent me the book, and I kind of hid it in my closet, and I couldn't get enough of that kind of stuff. So that was really, excuse me. But, starting at the age of like 3 or 4, I had my initiation into seeking the truth. And then around the age of 12 or so, it was really my first experience in the metaphysical field. And I knew that there was something there that was drawing me. But, once again, you start talking to your friends about this stuff, and they're like, you're crazy, or, what are you reading that crap for? And you end up putting it aside. But eventually I just keep coming back to my roots. And I've done this full circle where now it's like, I don't care what anyone else says. You know, I'm following my true self. And I know a lot of you out there are going through the exact same thing where, you know, people are looking at you like you're crazy, but you're standing your ground. And to that, I say, good for you. Moving on, number 26. Teachers appear everywhere with perfect timing to help you on your spiritual journey. Boy, isn't that the truth? There's so many people that are out there that I've learned from, and the first person that comes to my mind, there's so many of them, like David Icke, Jordan Maxwell, but Santos Bonacci. In recent times, you know, for the last couple of years, I've been really following his work, and he's like, boy, I don't know how to describe him other than, you know, an ascended master who came back to show us the light. He's amazing, and I'm so grateful, you know, for all the stuff that I've learned from him. You know, and Bill Donahue is another one who Bill Donahue has a ministry in, I think, Toms River, New Jersey. And that would be the only church I would ever go to, because Bill Donahue, and I post whenever he comes out with a new video, I post it on in5d News. Matter of fact, I think I posted one today or yesterday of his latest one that he put out on YouTube. But he just gets it. And he turns it around, all the writings in the Bible, he turns it around into stuff that you can comprehend and understand. So, I mean, there's so many masters, so many teachers that are appearing to you. And I know a lot of people have talked to me about this, and you know, they'll say that, you know, certain people, they'll wake up in the morning and they'll question something, and I'll post an article and they're like, oh my God, I can't believe it. It's like you read my mind. This is exactly what I was thinking about today, and here it is. So I'm not saying that I'm the teacher, but I'm just one that's helping to initiate the flow of learning, so to speak, I guess. So it's all good. And, you know, at the right time, you will find the information that you need exactly when you need it. And I'm seeing, yeah, in the Alan Watts, Bill Cooper in the chat room. Yeah, good stuff, definitely. And we're going to be moving on, but, you know, like I said, our phone lines are open. Our phone number is 646-716-8890. And we're going to move on to number 27. You'll find a spiritual track that makes sense to you and speaks to you at the most profound levels. And now this one goes on to say that suddenly you are gaining a perspective that you would never have considered before. You hunger to know more. You read with others, ask questions, and go inside to discover more about who you are and why you are here. And that's so true. A lot of people are really, right now, more than ever, really rediscovering who they are and why they're here. And it's like the question I posed, and Sherry and I were talking about, if there was no such thing as money, what would you be doing with your life? You know, what is your purpose here? And there's something, and I just explained too about that, you know, about my own spiritual track, how just something inside of me kept guiding me towards investigating religion more, investigating the science behind metaphysics. And when you go inside, you start listening to yourself, and you figure out exactly what it is that you are here to do and what your purpose is. And it's funny because a lot of people, they can live their whole lives and never know who they were their entire lives because they were pretending to be what society expected them to be without ever looking inside. And most of the time, these people are the extroverts that are looking for exterior approval instead of going inside looking for the answers. So I know that a lot of the people that are listening to this show and that are in the chat room right now, we're all introverts, and we're mostly introverts, we'll put it that way. And we're going to be more apt to look inside for those answers and to start questioning things. But when you have a lot of people that, you know, you have these things that are out there, you know, like, for example, the mainstream media, that they push this agenda on us, and, you know, people buy into it hook, line, and sinker, and they'll say, oh, I heard this on the news, I heard this on Fox or CBS or whatever. and all you can do is roll your eyes because you know that it's all state-sponsored propaganda, and the CIA already admitted that they're feeding these news stations these stories, and then when you research all of the mainstream media, and that includes radio, television, magazines, newspapers, educational books that are being pushed on our kids in school, it all boils down to 6 people that own all of it. And when you dig in even further, they all have Zionist ties. So do you think there might be an agenda behind all this crap we're getting on the mainstream media? Heck yeah. So just keep digging. And if you don't believe me, the truth is out there. You know, and that would be a great starting point for anybody who is beginning their spiritual journey. Look into the truth. Ask questions and question everything. Number 28, you are moving through learning and personal issues at a rapid pace. Wow. And I was just talking about this, and I see Sean is on hold here, and I'll get to her in a second. But, yeah, going through learning and personal issues at a rapid pace. How many of you out there have learned, are like me, like in the last 1, 2, 3, 5, whatever years, 10 years, have learned more in this period of time than you have in your whole life combined? Now, I've got a master's degree. I graduated with honors for both my BA and my master's degree. And I've learned so much more since then than all those years combined, including my education in college, which boils down to a stupid piece of paper. That doesn't make me any better than anyone else. So, yeah, the learning rate is exponential, definitely. So, with that being said, I'm bringing one of my favorite psychics ever online, Sean. Hi, Sean. How are you?
Hi, Gregg. Good evening. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing wonderful. How are you doing there? I know it's really late there in London.
I know, it is. It's about 20 after 1 in the morning here.
Oh, wow. Oh, thank you so much for staying up.
No, I knew your show was on. I always know your show is on. I had some trouble trying to listen to it the last couple times. I don't know, it was technical with Blog Talk Radio, I think. But anyway, I caught it tonight, and I came in late, so I've only been listening for about the last 15 minutes.
Yeah, I saw your name pop up in the chat room.
Right. And I thought, oh, well, I'd love to call in on open lines and have a chat. Yay. And you're talking about spiritual awakenings.
So how has yours been? How are you noticing a change of energies? And, what was your dark night of the soul like?
Well, I've had, I've been in this process since, I would have to say, very early age, but, officially, since I was about 19 years old. So, that's 40-odd years, right? And not quite 40, maybe 37 to be exact, or 38. And, over the time of, I think what I'd like to say really is that first, you wake up slowly. You have dreams, you have incidences which are synchronicities. Somebody is thinking a thought, and you think, I was just thinking that. The sort of, I don't want to call it baby stuff. I want to call it sort of, this very humble rumblings of your soul saying, it's time to wake up. It's time to wake up, right? And if you're very lucky, you might catch a glimpse of a spirit. You might feel an energy in the room with you. And, or you might even have a visitation from spirit. So there are many, many ways that you can wake up, and your soul has come in to wake up on this level. Your soul knows all this on the other planes. So why do we need to wake up here? What's the purpose of waking up, really? Because if we're divine spiritual beings having a human incarnation, then why aren't we born awake? Which is a great question, and that's the one I'd really like to chat to you with, right?
That is a great question.
Yeah, because, nobody seems to be asking this question. But we know from research, Dr. Eben Alexander, you get one straight neuroscientist or neurosurgeon who writes about his near-death experience, and then the whole world seems to say, oh, wow, so it must be true. But, of course, there are millions of people all over the world way before him and all throughout history that have had these experiences. And this is no put down to him. But I would think that this is the latest thing in the news. The people are reading his book, and he's on Oprah and every show, And the moral of the story is we're all aware. We're all awake. It's how you bring it alive. How you bring your awareness into this lifetime and why. So within each, go on.
Oh, okay. Well, it's my understanding that the reason that we're here is it's all about the experience. We gather all these. The Creator wants us. He sends us down. Our memories get erased, and we come back to Him. Essentially, we come out of the birthing canal, follow the light through the birthing canal, and then we go back the same way, following the light back to Creator, and we essentially report back what we learned, what we experienced, and He gets to experience this through us vicariously, and I think it's a beautiful process the way that it's done, and and that's where we make our soul contracts, and we say, you know what. It's great being here on the other side of the veil with Creator and all of our loved ones, but I want to go back because, there's some things I want to try or experience. Maybe I want to learn how to be a chef. Maybe I want to learn how to play the piano in the next incarnation or something, and we end up coming back again. It's all about the experience. What do you think about that, Sean?
Well, I would say that that's true, but I would my personal experience tells me that it's slightly different. And here's the different take that I've experienced. Yeah, that that we do come here to gain experience and knowledge with a capital K, right? If we can gain the experience of washing the dishes, but I wouldn't say that was great knowledge. We could gain the experience, right? So but some people that's their whole life. You understand? So we do choose. I feel we do choose a big chunk of what we experience, but there is, of course, free will and serendipity, and events outside of our control. We didn't put the chemtrails in the air.
Yeah, you're right.
Didn't create the massive tornadoes and hurricanes, and so we have to understand that we're not all in charge, right? And that's another point. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me go back for a second, okay? So what I'd like to express is that why do we come here to learn? We do come here to gain experience. You're absolutely right about that. And everything I've ever researched in my 40 years, as a psychic medium, metaphysician, teacher of astrology, tarot, past life regressionist, I can tell you that these things are true. But we also gain the experience of the contrast. The contrast is I'm, heartbroken. I'm sick. I'm mourning. I'm in a terrible situation and I don't know how to get out of it. All the dark nights of the souls, right?
So polarity and duality is what you're talking about. We came here to experience that. Okay.
Right. So we do sign up for a lot of those too. Unfortunately, and this is my experience from many, I'm speaking from a long line of experience working with clients and helping people. I think the new age tends to poo-poo those experiences. They tend to, everything is angels and fairies and light. And I loved all that myself many years ago. But I think that if you talk to any human being on the planet, they will all have experienced something very difficult, very dark, very scary, because part of the experience is not just the duality, it's the bravery that rises up for you to meet that experience. You're experiencing bravery. It's the ability to act on your feet, to think on your feet. You're experiencing, learning how to do something quickly, So there are reasons behind the darker experiences, and they're maybe even more valid than some of these, all love and light journeys. You understand what I'm saying? And so when you look, right, and so I think that's really important, that people don't feel that they're invalid or they're not spiritual because they get angry, or maybe they need to get angry. Maybe they spend 15,000 lifetimes being passive and being brutalized because of it. You understand what I'm saying? Everybody's here for their own reasons. Everybody's here to learn and develop. That's true. Now, then you get, once you wake up to this and you see this point that you are, in fact, the person who is writing the script, most of it, not all of it, after a certain point of meditating for 30 years or coming into the awareness of being psychic or coming into the awareness of being, on the path for many, many years, it gets boring just doing it for yourself. It's really the next level of growth should be really that you help other people. Service is higher than spiritual development. Service
I agree.
is higher, I'm saying it again because it's important, than spiritual development. So if I see someone who's sweeping the road, they're doing a great service for mankind. They're no less undeveloped. You understand? So I think perception is very important when we communicate about these things and talk about these things. Now, if you go to the next level, if Gandhi was just a lawyer and sat in his office helping people all day, he would not be the great spiritual leader that he became. You see? So my next thought is we have to get out of the kind of we personally, anyone, whoever, about somehow, you see what happened with March Against Monsanto. This was great spiritual leadership. Every person that did it, that signed up for it, that said something about it, that put it up on their Facebook, whatever, is spreading an enormous amount of good, because unfortunately what happens in the spiritual movement is people are so inside that a lot of times they don't take any action. I'm thinking about the 60s. I'm thinking about Pluto square Uranus, which was in fact in the 60s, 1960s, right? And how it's come around again, Pluto square Uranus. And isn't it interesting that it's come around again? All these years later, we're fighting the same battles. If
right on schedule.
Well, but if you were alive in the 60s, and the 70s, and you remember the picket signs, and you remember the sit-ins and the love-ins, and you remember, fighting for women's lib, fighting for black power, fighting for equality. If you remember that, then like people our age, Gregg, right, then you would definitely understand that this is crazy that we have to do it again. You understand? Because why didn't it work the first time? And I'll tell you what, it did work. It did stop the Vietnam War. It did give many, many, groups more equality, a voice, more than a voice, okay? But what happened is people got complacent. People fell into a sleep, and they decided that, well, now that we have more equality, now that we can do this, technology, et cetera, And the yuppies came in and said, 1980s, let's make loads of money, right? And it all fell apart, really. And in a way, you have to be vigilant. So the next level of spiritual development is to be a watcher over the earth, a watcher over the animals. Things that cannot speak for themselves, that cannot defend themselves. And this
the whole hippie movement was co-opted by the CIA and the FBI, and
I don't believe that. I was. Nobody told me.
Well, no. But what they were doing, you don't think that the Kent State incident wasn't done by agent provocateurs to end that whole hippie movement? Yeah.
Maybe it was, but that doesn't mean at the grassroots, all those organizations and all those people who were parading down every street, every main street in America to get us out of Vietnam. And they did get us out of Vietnam.
I agree with that. I think the biggest problem, the biggest issue that the hippie movement had, it had the right intentions. It had beautiful intentions, but there was a serious lack of organizational skills.
Well, we didn't have the internet. We didn't have mobile phones. I mean, come on, For what it was, it did do a great job. I mean, before, the idea of a woman going to work was unheard of when I was growing up. If your mother worked, she was a secretary. That's the best she could get, maybe a teacher.
Actually, my mom had a radio show in the 60s. My mom is an extrovert, and yeah, she had her own radio show in the 60s, so yeah, she was kind of like different, but...
Well, she must have been, and what was she talking about on her radio show?
I think, like culinary stuff and craft work and stuff like that, and she had a huge radio.
Women's Hour.
Yeah.
Let's talk about fashion and knitting and crafts.
Exactly. While the band is off work, yeah.
But the beauty of the protest is that when I was on the radio doing my own show, I was talking about metaphysics and spiritual development,
Perfect.
which is, you understand the difference. So that would not have happened had people my age march for women's lib. It just wouldn't have happened. So, because it was very easy to stay in a patriarchal society. Everybody do their role. You be the mother, you be the woman, you be the man, you go to work. And this is why change can happen. But first, it has to happen within. Just like we were talking about. Spiritual awakening. What's important? What's your purpose? Why are you here? What are you here to do? What have you come to learn? And if you don't know, all the answers are inside you. You can use tools. I use plenty of tools. Tarot is a great tool for inner work. It's not just predicting the future. It is a great tool for inner work. Astrology, looking at your chart and understanding it on a soul level, is a great tool for inner work. Past life regression, understanding your lives before and how they're meeting up in this life, and they will all have links to what you're doing today, at some point. And of course, you talk about great teachers, Jordan Maxwell, blah, blah, blah. But there are people just like you and me all over the world teaching spiritual development. And they're not famous. They haven't written any books. But those were the ones that taught me, and I turned around and taught people for 30-odd years. So, it isn't always the ones who are publicly known, right? And any person who's listening, if you go to your New Age center, your health food store, or you go to, even yoga classes, you will find those teachers have advertised in somewhere in those centers, if you don't know where to look, and on the web, right? So I think it's important that teachers are a great tool, but a teacher cannot make it happen for you. You have to do the work. You have to do the inner work yourself, right? And I think you and I both know that, the human being, God bless it, is very lazy at heart and doesn't like to do a lot of work. Not everyone, but a lot of people. And I think one of the things is that the joy of doing it is the rewards. The rewards are the opening up to spirit. The rewards are feeling better about yourself and your life, and then being able to see the reasons behind actions that not only you've taken in the past, but people have taken too. And maybe
How many times do you hear people say, I just can't find the time to meditate? But they'll find time to watch, like, Dancing with the Stars and American Idol and all this other crap.
Exactly. Commitment to your path is key, and it is your path. When you die, and I know this for a fact because I'm a medium, but also I've had plenty of people come back to me and talk to me about it from the spirit world. When you die, you're not going to be talking about Dancing with the Stars.
Nope. That would be my biggest fear, if I was unawakened, was to see my life review of me sitting in front of a TV with a remote in my hand. This was my life. Could you imagine?
And you know what? That's when the regrets come pouring in. And, or the father that sits on the couch watching TV, drinking the beer instead of actually helping their children with their homework, or taking them out to the park, or spending any time with them whatsoever. I mean, for me personally, there's no such thing as sins. There are bad choices, and there is evil, but it's manipulated through mind control or mental illness, in my personal opinion, okay? There is no hell. So when people pass, the thing that they get to see is what they did to, how they grew, and what they did to help other people, even if it's taking in a stray dog or a cat, even if it's just being kind to a person. So there are little things you can do that mean an awful lot on the other side. You don't have to write, a bestseller that changes the world. You just have to be loving and kind, but you have to be that to yourself. So, I find a lot of hypocrisy in the spiritual movement, and I find that it's getting worse, and I think it's important to say it, not to say that everything is hunky-dory, because it isn't, it isn't. There are a lot of people that just want to sell their books, and that's what they're doing. Dr. Eric Pearl, who does the reconnective healing, said it best. And I think, he brought in a very, very amazing power to heal. I'm sure you know about him, right? Reconnective healing. And he's very cheeky, as we say in England. He says it like it is. He absolutely says it like it is. And one of the things he says is he says they're either trying to sell you something, make you do something with them, buy something, and he goes on and on and on. And when I heard him say it, I thought, my God, he's right. He's right. Because a lot of people are looking for help. They are, and good for them, because that's another step up. I'm willing to try something. I'm willing to go to someone, to look at my life and see, even if it's a therapist, it's good. But then, the results aren't there for them. And the results aren't there because, unfortunately, behind the great, whatever, there's not much help. You see what I'm saying? So I think we like a ladder. We go up each step. We might fall back down a couple. We get back up. We start again. We have to be brave. That's all that's required, really, and curious. And endlessly curious.
I think you were the one who turned me on to Eric Pearl. And, I agree with you that everything can't be love and light. I mean, imagine, the people in the concentration camps during Hitler's regime, if they thought, everything's love and light, well, where did that lead them? There has to be some kind of activism, like the March Against Monsanto, that kind of thing. That's going to change this paradigm to where we're heading. If you're thinking it's all just love and light, well, you don't want to be that person that's being headed off to the, concentration camp. If that,
that poem, they They came for, you know, whoever, and I didn't say anything. And then in the end of the poem, and then they came for me, and there was nobody to speak for me, you know.
Right.
And I think that's a very real point. It's a real point, you know, and it's important, and it's not said enough. And that's why I chose to say it tonight, even though I would love to live in La La Land where everything's love and light. When I die, that's exactly what will be going on. When we all die, that's where we'll be, in love and light. So while we're here, let's, you know, think about cleaning up the garbage. Bless the street keeper, the street cleaner, because there's a lot of garbage around right now. You know, I personally think that this is going to not go to World War III, but there's going to be a huge, this is my psychic prediction, and I'm going to say it on your radio show, okay?
All right.
And here it is. By 2014, and the stars will back me up, because Uranus will be squaring Pluto. Even more. We have the square going on as we speak, but it'll get closer and closer and closer, you know, and as it moves into the conjunction between 2014, and even some of 2015, you're going to see all this rubbish with the elite, the New World Order, you know, the lying presidents and prime ministers, and the ducking and diving about the UFO issue, and Monsanto poisoning our food and trying to get us to eat this crap and not tell us what's in it. And, you know, all this stuff is going to come to a huge head. You know?
It can't come quick enough.
Well, I know, but this is what's going to happen. It has to happen for life to sustain on this planet. And the way that it's going to happen is not by people sitting by passively doing things. Because, you know, just like the 60s, they got out, they rioted in the streets, they said, you know, no, we're not going to the draft. No, we're not going to fight your war. See, what worries me is how many of these soldiers, Memorial Day, died for a false flag operation, which is 9/11. And they're marching to, you know, we're going to save the world from what? From what? You know, there are drones going over Pakistan as we speak. For what? Are we in a war with Pakistan? You know, you have to really question and wake up these young people who sign up for the military, because they are just pawns in the game. Big chest pain, and they are pawns, and they're losing their lives, and they're losing their limbs to make these people rich on the oil of these other countries. That's all it is. And the heroin. And the heroin, you know, poppies in Afghanistan.
Right. The fields that the CIA is essentially guarding.
Yeah, you know, I mean, this is, you know, who's going to say it? Who's going to tell the truth? I mean, who is going to see, you know, if you have a child, for God's sake, who's thinking about going into the military, you know, wake up, do the research. You're sending them to certain death if they're not already there fighting for their lives. You know, and the military has had a proud kind of background. Oh, my grandfather was in this, and my, you know, father was in World War II. World War II, even though it was manipulated as well, you know what? To take 6 million people and genocide them, that for me is something to go to war on. That's a reason to get involved in the war. But today, the Terrorist Act, there was no terrorism. You know, Osama bin Laden died in 2001. Fact.
Yep.
You know, fact. I mean, start looking it up, people. Start waking up. So if we know all this, as we get more and more conscious, we get more and more truth. That's a really good reason to become awake and to become conscious. And the truth isn't pretty all the time. It isn't fanciful. It isn't, you know, fairies and angels. It is
well, you know,
what
Sean,
it is.
And that's the beauty of it all. Duality gives us the dichotomy of contrast. Imagine if everything was love and light right now. What kind of opportunities for spiritual advancement and progression would we have?
Well, we'd be in heaven, Gregg. That's where we would be, because that's where love and light lives constantly. Mm-hmm. Nobody's up there in pain. Nobody's up there fighting with anyone. Nobody's up there warring. It doesn't exist. So, yes, I agree. The great stage of life, all of life is a stage, as Shakespeare said, and we're all actors playing a part. We are.
True.
But to what level do we want to leave the earth to our children? You have a child. I have a child. I'm sure your listeners have children. Do you want them to be eating chemical food that will give them cancer? Do you want them to have vaccines that will give them cancer and diabetes and God knows what else? It's a choice. Isn't it? It's a choice, and we have to remember to keep taking our power back and not giving it away. And this is...
Well, I'll tell you what. You were mentioning about the whole war thing. The whole patriotism and nationalism thing. That is like every country is pushing that, where it's really dividing us. And I am grateful to everybody who has served and who is in the service right now. I am very grateful for the intentions that you have for defending your country, but you got to look at for what reasons and why you're in there. And I want to also add that it's going to be our retired veterans who are going to be the ones that are really going to be the backbone of this whole movement that gets things turned around, because they're awake and aware right now.
Yeah, but Gregg, the veterans are coming home and committing suicide by the masses. And that's a fact, too, that I think it's 1 in every 20 who come home actually attempt suicide. That's not right. There's something seriously wrong there. And why is it? Why do they come home from serving in wherever they've been? And because, A, the government doesn't look after them afterwards, which is known fact, and B, they've come back, maybe learned the truth, and thought, my God, I killed people for nothing. You understand? They can't live with themselves. Or they've seen horrific things, and they can't, as a soul, as a spirit, as a person, they can't take that on board. And, this is why you're a pawn in the game when your service that you do with all your heart, you feel like you've committed, signed up, patriotic, whatever, and then you're completely let down when you come home. And the Vietnam vets had that as well. Nobody wanted to know them when they got back. So this is, again, deja vu. It's the same story, And if you're old enough to remember it, you see it it's so clear. You see it so clearly, So I guess my point, I've probably taken up too much time on the radio with you, but my point is...
It's okay.
My point is that I would really like to leave your listeners with this thought. What goes on within you definitely goes on around you and without you, outside of you. So first you work on yourself. That is major important. Because if you're acting unconsciously, you could create really more harm than good. Okay? So meditation is key. Also finding a good teacher. Using some of the tools I mentioned. There are millions of good tools, okay? That's the blessing of being in this world. There are many ways to find your inner self and heal your inner self and work with your higher self and find your purpose. And when you find your purpose, go live it. No matter whatever way you can, the best way you can. It's not about perfection. It never was. But it is about mastery, which is different. Mastery is different than perfection, okay? And once you are able to get to that level, the next level should be, and maybe part of your purpose will be that anyway, to help other people in any way you can. And that goes for animals, plants, the earth itself. Because that's all there is. There ain't nothing more. That's it. That's the goal. People think when you wake up, you're going to become some Buddha. That's what Buddhism, not Buddhism as a religion, but that's what the great mastery is, to be of service to others. If you want to talk about Jesus, whether he existed or not, He was supposed to be of service to others. You understand? If you want to talk about Gandhi, if you want to talk about Mother Teresa, if you want to talk about, Martin Luther King, if you want to talk about, we've had so many, John Lennon, we've had so many masters come and go in this life, in this world. But it was never about them. It was about service to others.
It's funny, when I go to bed at night, I ask myself, have I done all I can do? I'm always trying to figure out what more can I do. And right now I'm working on building another website, believe it or not. And this one's more based on body, mind, soul, and spirit, more so than in5d, which is more, futuristic and stuff. But it still covers a lot of similar topics. And, I'll be posting similar articles on both websites. But it's just something a little bit different. And what more? And like I said, what more can I do? I've got the radio show going, and I'm working on putting a Return to Atlantis convention together, where we're working on getting some guest speakers and having it here in Florida. And
God, I hope you're going to invite me.
We'd love to have you out here. Good Lord.
Well, let me know, and I'll see what I can do. That. You don't even have to ask, or maybe you weren't going to ask, but if you were, yes, count me in.
Really, I didn't think you'd be. It's not cheap to fly.
It depends on the time of year. When you're going to do it, and give me time to make arrangements and whatever. If I can do it, and my daughter's out of school at that time, then great. We'll try certainly, and give me a good reason to come over. Across the state.
We're actually looking at like the first weekend in October, if everything goes through.
Well,
yeah.
Okay, I'll talk to you about this privately, right? But something to think about. And I just wanted to also add that, Gregg, you do so much. You do so much. So please don't think, I was not saying that because I thought you needed to do more. You do too much for yourself. You need more time for you.
I've heard that so much, too. I need balance. I need balance in my life, but I'm like a lot of people right now. We're feeling that impending need, and I was talking about that earlier as one of the symptoms of spiritual awakening. This impending need to just keep pushing and keep awakening more people. But you're right, and I've heard this from numerous people. I got to find a balance within myself. I need to go out there and relax and put all the work behind me. But I end up working 12 to 15 hours every day, 365 days a year.
Well, yeah, it's not good for you. It's not good for you, and also, I think mastery is not how much you do. It's doing it within the harmony of balance. Now, I know that's hard. I have issues myself. I know most people do. But to not try is a sin, really. I don't believe in sin, but, it's a waste, isn't it? So it's about making that effort. As I was once told, it's all about intention. So if you have an intention that's honest and true, not a bullshit one, but honest and true, I'm going to balance today. I'm going to, even if you have to get a little bit rigid with your time schedule, then you can create balance. I know a lot of people who overwork, because, maybe they feel that they're not doing enough. But overwork, like any excess, can be an escape too. So we have to find that balance, But in the meantime, Gregg, great show, all good. You do wonderful. Heidi too. I don't even know if she's there tonight.
No, she couldn't make it tonight.
Okay, so that's okay. So I'm just saying, it's good. You do a stellar job, as we say over here in merry old England, a stellar job.
Thank you. It's so great hearing from you. I love it when you call in. Folks, this is another wonderful psychic, and you can find Sean's ad on my links section also on in5d. So once again, another highly recommended psychic that I can't say enough good words about, honestly.
And I do focus on the spiritual journey with my clients and their soul, why they came back, and I do very deep readings, as Gregg will tell you. I'm not superficial in the least. And if you have serious issues that you want to get to the heart of and you're willing to work them out, I don't charge by the minute. I don't charge by the hour. I just work with you till the job is done. And basically, that's the fee. It's one fee. And I work on Skype, so I see clients all over the world. So I'm just as psychic on Skype as I am in person. So there you go.
Yeah, if you have anybody that has passed on to the other side, they'll be lining up behind Sean because she is the master of conduits.
Well, I have some good helpers on the other side, I must say, who help me. I definitely have friends in high places, as they say.
Oh, indeed. Well, I got to wrap it up here. It's 9 o'clock already here. It's time for us to wrap the show up. Sean, I got to thank you once.
Oh, my God, I took over the show. I'm so sorry. Okay,
no,
Gregg.
It's okay. Great. Thank you. Thank you
All
for calling in. And thank you. And definitely don't be a stranger.
Okay, I won't be. Lots of love.
All
Take
right.
care. Okay.
Love you
Bye,
too.
Gregg.
Bye.
Love you too. Bye. Bye.
Bye. Well, I can't believe it. That these 2 hours went by so quickly. And the thing I was fearing most is, me being the introvert that I am, was having to do the whole show by myself because I like having that balance of having the feminine energy with me and having Heidi here. It's great, and I miss having her here tonight. But it was great. I can't believe the show went by this quickly, and I want to thank everybody who called in and all of our friends that are in the chat room. You guys are all wonderful. I love you all. Next week, check this out. Next week, our special guest will be time traveler Andrew Basiago. So feel free to call in and ask Andrew any questions you may have regarding time travel, teleportation, Project Pegasus, the jump room to Mars, or anything else we may or may not cover next week. And as always, we're going to close out tonight's show with a song written and performed by Heidi Cole called Walk On Through the Rain. So on behalf of Heidi, who couldn't be here tonight, but she'll be back next week, this is Gregg Prescott from in5d.com. Namaste, everyone.
life.